Hello everyone, welcome to Kumari's Kids channel. Today's story is going to be about Donald Duck cleans up. Donald Duck was in his backyard taking a nap in his hammock when he suddenly heard someone yell, "Donald Duck, wake up!" Sure enough, the sharp scolding voice awoke Donald from a lovely dream he was having. He sat up in the hammock and looked at his neighbors who had gathered around him. They were all staring at Donald and they did not look very happy. What's going on here?" Donald asked them. "Is something wrong?" "There certainly is something wrong," said the lady who lived next door. "Donald Duck, this is cleanup week, and we have all been busy for days painting our houses to make them look nice. Now we want to know when you plan to fix up your house. It's the worst looking place on the block." "Oh, it's not so bad," Donald said, looking at the chipped and peeling paint on his house. "I'll tend to it someday, but right now I'm in the middle of taking a nap." "Oh no, you don't," Donald Duck snapped the lady, pointing her finger at him. "You'll paint your house today, or else you'll have all of us to deal with." All the neighbors looked at Donald angrily. He didn't want everyone to be upset with him. So he said, "Okay, I'll get it. I will get to it right away." Then Donald's neighbors started to walk back to their homes, muttering and shaking their heads. After his neighbors had left, Donald lay back in his hammock with a deep frown. Even though he had told his neighbors that he would paint his house, he really didn't want to, but unless he thought of something right away, he would have several hours of hard work ahead of him. "What's the matter, Donald? Are you hurt?" asked two little chipmunks. Donald looked up and saw Chip and Dale looking down at him from a maple branch. Suddenly, he had a wonderful idea. "That's right, boys," he said with a groan. "I just fell down and twisted my leg. And the neighbors say I have to paint my house this very day, or else." "Say, that's too bad," the little chipmunk said sadly. "I don't suppose you fellows could help me out?" Donald asked slyly. "Do you mean help paint?" wondered Chip. "Us?" asked Dale. "That's right," said Donald. "It's really lots of fun. I wish I could do it myself, but I can't." Donald, who was limping slightly, was already pushing them toward the garage. "The paint's in there," he said, "and the brushes are on the shelf. Thanks a lot for helping me out, fellows." As soon as Chip and Dale had gone into the garage, Donald had a good laugh. "What a smart duck I am," he said to himself. "My house will be painted and I won't have to do a single thing." Chip and Dale had never painted a house before and they hardly knew where to begin. But instead of the garage, they found the paint they needed, and together with all their might, they dragged the paint pails outside. The brushes were too heavy for them to use, so they dipped their bushy tails into the paint instead. But Back and forth, they ran around the house painting with their tails. They changed the house from dingy gray to a bright sunny yellow. A few hours later, the house was finally all painted. Chip and Dale were both exhausted. "Whee! This is hard work," exclaimed Chip. "I've rubbed all the fur off my beautiful tail." "Me too," said Dale, "but poor Donald really needed our help. Let's go tell him we are all finished." Wearily, the two little chipmunks trudged around the house. They were excited to show Donald what a good job they have done. However, when they reached the backyard, they could hardly believe their eyes. The hammock was empty. They looked around, but Donald Duck was nowhere to be found. "Why, he's gone!" exclaimed Chip. "Wait, look over there!" yelled Dale. There he is skipping down the street. "We have been tricked." At first, the chipmunks were too angry to do anything. They couldn't quite believe that Donald Duck had fooled them. They sat quietly for a few moments. Suddenly, the two chipmunks looked at one another. They have the perfect idea, but to the paint, they called to each other. They quickly scampered to the garage. "Red paint, white paint, purple paint, and green paint," Chip called, pointing at the shelf. "We'll fix that smart duck," snapped Dale. And they did for the next hour. They painted faster than ever before. When they had finished, they had painted the porch rails in bright red and white strips, painted purple scallops around every window, painted a different pattern on every shutter. Big funny face on Donald Duck's front door. And last but not least, painted pink and yellow polka dots on the roof. If you had happened to pass Donald Duck's house that evening, you would have seen a very strange sight. All the neighbors were gathered in the circle in front of the house. They looked very angry. In the center of the circle stood Donald Duck. He had a paintbrush in his hand and he was holding a bucket of paint. "And what's more," the lady next door said, we were going to stay right here until you have cleaned up every bit of this mess. Donald Duck, now get busy." "That's right, get busy," echoed two little voices. And if you had happened to look up at that very moment, you would have seen two little chipmunks chuckling to themselves high up in the maple tree. Okay, this is the end of the story. I will see you guys in the next storytelling.